legislatively. President Trump is going to Washington, D.C. tomorrow as a triumphant return. What, if anything, realistically, would you like to see Congress do? We're going to have a slight majority in the House, a reasonable majority in the Senate. One of the first bills they're going to pass is going to be some sort of a border bill. What would you like to see from a funding perspective or from a policy change perspective to make sure that we can close the southern border and make these changes permanent?
Excellent question. Because what we're seeing is executive order, and every president can overturn the other president. There are three things that Congress can do that would fix 85% of this border. They need to change the TVPRA, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. It had a good intention. That says this: if you're a child of, if it's ascertained that you're a child of trafficking, you have certain rights and certain appeals to the government that you can get to stay here. But here's what the TVPR says. If it's ascertained you are not a victim of trafficking, if you're from Mexico, you're immediately removed. If you're from Canada, you're immediately removed. But if you're from any other country, even though we ascertained you're not a victim of trafficking, you got this whole process that takes years. You're going to end up to stay here forever. That is a magnet that has increased the unaccompanied alien children trafficking. Over 500,000 children have been trafficked across this border by criminal cartels, and this administration can't find them. That's another thing President Trump's going to do on top of securing the border and doing deportation operations. We're going to find those children and save them because many of them are in forced labor, many of them are in sex trafficking, many are living with pedophiles. These children are living life of hell. We're going to go find them and save them. The second thing Congress can do is change the asylum law. The asylum law, when you first get to the border, you make an asylum claim. The burden of proof is very, very low. Because if we don't send somebody back to their home country to be persecuted, so they set the threshold so low, it's ridiculous. The cartels would teach these people a few key phrases to say, pass that first interview, you get released. Then when you get to court, if you show up in court, that threshold of proof is much higher, and 90% fail in court. And that's a true number. 90% will pass the first interview. They get to court, 90% fail. So we need to make that first interview threshold the same as the judicial threshold, and that would help solve the problem. Finally, the Florida Settlement Agreement. The Florida Settlement Agreement says we can't detain family units in a residential facility long enough to see a judge. They said we can only hold them for 20 days. The way the system's set up, it takes almost 40 days to have someone see a judge. So change that. Let us keep them in family residential centers, not going to be in jail. They'll be in an open campus family residential center. Let us keep them long enough to see a judge. 90% will lose. We'll put them on an airplane and send them home. And the reason I know that will work is under Obama administration, when we've had the first surge, we built family residential centers. We held them long enough to see a judge. We put them on an airplane and send them home. The border numbers tanked. Then the Ninth Circuit comes back and says, no, you can only hold them in 20 days.